Maria Elena's hands moved in rhythm, pressing the dough flat, her palms dusted with harina. The scent of fresh arepas filled the air of their modest kitchen in Maracay. Outside, motorbikes buzzed through narrow streets, and the sun filtered through rusted bars on the window, casting golden stripes across the counter. It was Sophia's birthday. 17. Maria Elena had risen at 5, like she always did, kneading, frying, packing orders for the regulars who queued at her stall. She glanced at the clock. 6:30. Her back ached, but there was still time to wrap a small gift, a simple bracelet she'd saved up for. Sophia entered the kitchen, barefoot, arms crossed, face unreadable. "Happy birthday, mi reina," Maria said gently, holding out the box. Sophia didn't take it. "Instead," she said, "all you ever gave me was work." The words didn't register at first. Maria blinked. "What?" "I mean it," Sophia continued. "Other girls get parties, cake, a day off. I get to wake up at dawn and fold napkins for your stall." Maria froze. The bracelet trembled in her fingers. "I'm not your worker, Mama. I'm your daughter." A silence stretched between them. Sophia turned and walked out, her footsteps echoing through the house like a final sentence. Maria stood there, the arepas burning slightly on the pan. She didn't follow. That afternoon, Maria worked the stall alone. The customers noticed. "Where's Sophia?" asked Donna Iris, the retired schoolteacher who always ordered extra cheese. "She's resting," Maria lied. But her mind wasn't on the orders. Every sentence she took felt like it came through a fog. Her daughter's words repeated in her head, cutting deeper each time. "All you ever gave me was work." The city buzzed around her, but inside, Maria Elena was frozen. When she returned home, the house was dark. Sophia wasn't in her room. Her bag was gone. On the table sat the unopened bracelet. And a note. But Maria didn't open it. Not yet. She stared at it, heart racing, breath caught in her throat. What had she missed? Maria Elena sat alone at the kitchen table, the letter before her like a sealed wound. For hours, she did not move. The house was quiet except for the ticking wall clock and the occasional rumble of distant thunder. Finally, with trembling hands, she opened the envelope. "Mama," it began. It wasn't angry. It wasn't cruel. Sophia had written only a few lines. She said she was going to stay with her cousin Carolina in Valencia, just for a few days. She needed to breathe, to find space, to understand who she was outside of napkins and orders. Maria exhaled, a mix of relief and something heavier. She wasn't gone for good, but the words still stung. Outside, the rain began. Light at first, then harder. That night, Maria couldn't sleep. She lay in Sophia's empty bed, staring at the faded posters on the wall, remembering the first time her daughter sold an empanada with her own hands. She had been proud then, not burdened. Where had that changed? The following morning, Maria packed the stall as usual. Her hands moved by instinct, but her heart wasn't in it. She stared at every teenage girl who passed, hoping for a glimpse of Sophia's face. Later, she phoned Carolina. The girl was there, safe, but quiet. "She cried last night," Carolina admitted. "Did you two fight?" Maria didn't answer. She couldn't find the words. Days passed. Then a week. No call from Sophia. No message. Just silence. The stall grew quieter too. Without Sophia's quick hands and warm smile, things took longer. Customers noticed. Some asked. Some didn't. Maria found herself speaking aloud to no one while she cooked. Habit, perhaps. Loneliness, definitely. She began closing the stall early, returning home to a house that felt far too large for one person. Sophia's bracelet box still sat unopened on the shelf. One evening, Maria sat by the window, radio humming faintly in the background. The sunset lit the horizon in brilliant amber. She thought of her own mother, how she had once snapped at her too, and how quickly life had taken her away. That was the first night Maria wept, the kind of weeping you do in private. Shoulders shaking, eyes swollen. the kind you've kept inside for too long. In Valencia, Sofia stood on the balcony of Carolina's apartment, overlooking the bustling night below. Traffic honked. People shouted. Life pulsed everywhere. But inside her, everything was still. Carolina was kind. They talked. They laughed. But something gnawed at Sofia. She hadn't meant to be cruel. Just honest. Or so she thought. But the more time passed, the more her anger softened. What if what she said wasn't truth, but teenage pride? She remembered her mother's hands, how they cracked in winter, how they moved with such care when folding paper bags. She remembered nights Maria fell asleep at the table, pen still in hand, bills half sorted. She remembered warmth, not just work. On her fourth night away, Sofia found herself reaching for her phone. Then she stopped. She wasn't ready yet. Maria, in need of distraction, visited Sofia's old school to drop off a donation of food. It was a place of memories, parent meetings, school plays, days when Sofia ran into her arms, waving papers with golden stars. There, she met Señor Ramos, the old janitor, now half-retired. "You always brought those big containers of stew," he chuckled. "Your girl always shared with the ones who forgot lunch." Maria smiled faintly. "She's got your heart, that one." The words landed heavy, because lately, it felt like her daughter had left not just the house, but her heart behind too. Back home, Maria found an old box buried in the hallway closet. Inside were drawings Sofia had made as a child. One showed a stick-figure woman beside a smiling food cart with a sign, "Mama's arepas, best in Maracay." Maria ran her fingers over the faded crayons. There had been love. Somewhere along the way, it had been buried beneath duty and routine, but it had been there. That night, Maria did something she hadn't done in years. She wrote a letter. No guilt, no blame, just truth. She mailed it the next morning. In Valencia, Carolina handed Sofia the envelope during breakfast. "It's from your mom," she said gently. Sofia stared at it. Her heart raced. She slipped away to the balcony and opened it with hesitant fingers. Maria's words were simple. She didn't defend herself. She didn't deny the burden. But she wrote of love, of sacrifice, of dreams never spoken aloud, of the nights she sewed Sofia's uniforms until dawn, of the small joys, like the times Sofia sold her first arepa with pride. At the end, one sentence stood out. "I never wanted you to feel like my worker, only like my world." Tears slipped down Sofia's cheeks. She had misunderstood everything. 2 days later, a bus pulled into Maracay. Maria was still at the stall when she looked up and saw her.
Sofia.
Tired. Nervous. But there. They stood for a moment, unsure. Then Sofia stepped forward and embraced her tightly. No words. Just arms and silence. Maria held her daughter as though she might disappear again. Then they cried. In front of the stall. In front of the world. No one said a word. They didn't need to. That night, Sofia lit a small candle atop a homemade flan. She smiled as she placed it in front of her mother. "This time," she whispered, "you get to make a wish." Maria chuckled softly, tears still fresh. "And what about your birthday?" Sofia shook her head. "I think I already got my gift." They ate together, laughter returning in small waves. Sofia spoke of Valencia, of Carolina, of the days apart. Maria listened. Later, Sofia brought out the bracelet box. "This was yours to give," she said. "And I want it now." She slipped it on, their hands touching. And for the first time in weeks, everything felt whole again. Weeks passed. The stall returned to life, and so did they. But something had changed. Now, Sofia didn't just fold napkins. She designed menus. She greeted customers by name. She joked with Maria. There was balance. On weekends, they took time off, walks by the river, film nights with old DVDs, and stories over steaming cups of Papillon con limon. The arepas still sizzled. The orders still came. But now it wasn't just about work.
It was about them.
Together. Maria often glanced at her daughter and smiled. not because the business was thriving, but because love, the quiet kind, the everyday kind, had returned.